Okay, here's the scene. You are the newest member of our social basketball team. You are a complete beginner, a brand new, newborn basketball baby. But I'm so proud of you because you have plucked up the courage to give the game a go. Now, I know you've been wanting to do this for a really long time, so the stakes are high. Because if we don't get this right, you could end up hating it or feeling really embarrassed. But don't worry, I am not going to let that happen to you. Here comes your crash course in how to play basketball. Okay, my friend, there are two things I want to tell you before we start. First, the team with possession of the ball we call the offense. The team without possession of the ball we call the defense. Now, basketball's a really fast-paced game, and so all the players will switch between offense and defense in like a split second. So it's not like other sports where you have separate offensive and defensive teams. It's all the same team, okay? Now that you've got that, let's get going. Okay, the court's perimeter is made of 2 baselines at the end and 2 sidelines. As long as the person holding the ball's feet are inside those lines, then the ball is in bounds, even if the ball is being held outside of the lines. The court is split in half by the center line, and this houses the center circle, where the game begins with a tip-off. The ref throws the ball up for 2 players, one from each of the 2 teams, to tip the ball to one of their 4 teammates who are standing outside the circle. The aim of the game is to score more points than your opponent, and you do this by putting the ball through your basket and stopping your opponent putting the ball through their basket. Top tip: whichever hoop your tip-off player is facing at the beginning of the game is the hoop that you will try and score in for the first half of the game. This large arc is called the 3-point line. Successful shots made outside of this line get 3 points. These are hard shots. Successful shots made inside the arc are awarded 2 points. Inside the arc is the keyway. Now, when your team has the ball, you can only spend 3 seconds max in the keyway before either a shot is attempted or you got to get out of there. But it's okay because you can go back in again for 3 seconds max over and over again. Otherwise, it's called a 3-second violation. This rule is designed to keep players moving around the court and not standing still. Once a team has scored, the ball is given to the opposite team, and a player will inbound the ball from the baseline. This team has 8 seconds to get the ball across the center line to the other half of the court, which is a mirror image of this one, or else an 8-second violation is called. Once the ball passes the center line, the offensive team cannot take it back across the center line. Otherwise, this is called a backcourt violation. Now, the player with the ball will bounce the ball with one hand. This is called dribbling, and it's the only legal way you can move around the court. If you take more than 2 steps without dribbling, that is called a travel violation. Moving your hand to the underside of the ball as you're dribbling is called a carry violation. So always keep your palm facing downwards when you're dribbling when you're starting out to avoid being called for a carry. Once you've stopped your dribble, so you've picked it up, you've either got to pass it or shoot it. If you restart your dribble, this is called a double dribble violation. Players who don't have the ball can move freely around the court as long as they don't stay in the key for more than 3 seconds. Now I'm going to run you through some things you are and are not allowed to do when playing basketball. So you are allowed to knock a ball out of another player's hand as long as you only make contact with the ball. Otherwise, that's called a hands foul. You're not allowed to kick the ball. This is not soccer. The ref will call a kickball. Now, you are allowed to have some physical contact. The amount is actually really subjective, even between refs on the same court. But a foul will be called when illegal contact or too much contact is made. And those can be made by either defensive players or offensive players. If you're fouled when you're taking a shot, you're awarded free throws from the top of the keyway. If you foul someone when they're not in the process of taking a shot, then you lose possession of the ball and play is restarted from the perimeter. Blatantly charging into another player is called a charging foul, and you are not allowed to trip or hold on to other players to stop them moving. Now, a good defensive strategy is to imagine that your body is a shield between the player with the ball and the hoop that they're trying to shoot in. Now, your position is established if you're balanced in that position. So if you are not in position and not balanced, but you move and collide into a player who's traveling towards you, then you'll be called for a blocking foul because you've illegally moved to block their path to the hoop. So remember, in defense, get balanced in that position and you'll be right. And just remember that in the second half, you'll swap sides and you'll be shooting in the opposite hoop. Hey, it's Editing Rach here. I thought it was worth jumping on to add that obviously every comp is going to be slightly different in how strict they are enforcing all of these rules, and that's because every ref is different and every comp is going to be slightly different. Some of these rules are not called very often, particularly like the 8-second rule. Really, it's only when people are not letting the game flow that the refs will crack down on that one. But everything else I have heard called in my social comp, and the sign of a really great social comp is if the refs can make more allowances for those beginners and let them practice and get some runs on the board. Okay, friends, we've made it. There are 2 things that I want to leave you with that are so key in helping you get the most out of this first game. The first thing is learn your team members' names as soon as you can. I know this is scary and I know it's awkward, but it is going to help you so much on the court. The second thing I want you to do is ask your team members before the game what defensive strategy they're using in the game. There are only a couple, and I'm not going to run you through what they are today, but the sooner that you understand where you need to stand, the sooner you become really useful to your team. So ask them to explain it to you really quickly before you start playing. They can probably cover it off in a minute. Well, there it is. I've run you through the absolute basics of the game, how it's played, and what you can and cannot do on the court. I've also given you a couple of bonus tips of something you can do before you start your very first game. So you are well prepared, my friend. You are light years ahead of the other people who are signing up for social basketball without any idea what they're getting into. You are going to do great. I am so proud of you. Thanks for sticking around, and drop a comment below and let me know how that first game went.